On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks dropped their second game in the preseason against the Timberwolves. Should we be concerned yet? How did Dereck Lively and OMax look? We'll talk about that and more today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good!
And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
And welcome. You were locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know in your comment section. Give me one overreaction from preseason game 1, game 2. Let us know. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook partner of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. And joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com. The preseason poltergeist, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Oh, been working on some intros there. Okay.
Had to come up with a new word.
Another preseason game, another loss, but you know it's part of the preseason. I'm back in Dallas, so I've been watching these Mavs games in Kentucky, and I texted you last night. Drove a good 14 hours, and got pulled over right before we got home. And
isn't that always the case? Also,
what a great capper.
Those small Texas towns too, like outside of, I get pulled over in those sometimes. They're just like,
no, we were legitimately 15 minutes. We were on Bush, like George Bush. It's like whatever. It's like, listen, I got a Mavs game to watch tomorrow morning. All right, so
and 2 kids in the backseat. You had your dog with you too, right? Like.
My dog was freaking out.
I have a zoo in the backseat of my car. Can we not do this right now?
Yeah.
Oh man. On today's show, we'll break down Mavs preseason game 2. I'll say the score this time: 104-96. Yesterday, I said the score. I said the score doesn't even matter. We got a bunch of comments about it. It still doesn't. It still doesn't in a preseason game. Kyrie Irving did not play in this game. Seth Curry was out in this game. Markieff Morris was out in this game. Jaden McDaniels didn't play for the Timberwolves, and so we got a good look at a couple of guys that will play for the Mavericks. Josh Green goes back in the starting lineup. You get
as he should.
Jaden Hardy goes in the starting lineup instead of Kyrie, and then Dereck Lively starts, Grant Williams start, and Luka Doncic starts. To me, the thing that stands out again from this one is Dereck Lively. I thought Dereck Lively looked really good again. He played the most minutes of anybody on the team. He played just about 23 minutes. He had another dunk. He had 2 offensive rebounds. He had 3 fouls and 3 turnovers. So those are the mistakes that you expect. The turnovers were a little rough. The fouls, not so much. Had a steal, 3 blocked shots. And he had 1 blocked shot that they didn't count early in the first half too. So more than 3 blocked shots. But what are your thoughts on Dereck Lively now through 2 games?
Loved what I've seen. I mean, I thought, I was pretty satisfied with the first game. And then I thought he played even better this game. I thought he looked like he belonged. He had those 2 offensive rebounds early in the game. It's like, let's go. Like, this is something we're not used to here. And, you mentioned the block shots, but there were shots around the rim that he contested that, guys missed that, obviously doesn't show up on a box sheet there. So that's the box score,
box sheet box score or the stat sheet. You said box.
Actually, I like box sheet.
Box sheet.
So on the stat score, it won't show
the stat score. See, that one doesn't even make any sense. The stat score.
No, it doesn't at all. But no, I liked what I seen. There was that play there in the second half where Rudy just kind of lowered the shoulder, yammed it on his face. But it's just like, and they came right back down the floor. He got the ball. He did a jump hook. Lively did, missed it. But it showed me a little bit of confidence in him. It was like, dude, you just got yammed on, which I don't really blame him, because this is one of the things that we talked about in his in the pre-draft process stuff of going back and watching him in the post against some of the bigger guys. He did get pushed around a lot or scored on right underneath the basket. That's going to come. Like, I think Bobby said it on the broadcast. It was like, dude, 2 years from now, that isn't going to happen.
No,
because it's just going to take time. He's going to get stronger, learn the spots on that. So, Yeah, I actually really liked what I saw from Lively, in game 2.
Yeah, it was that specific moment. So it happened in the second quarter where Gobert posts up on him, and then he just backs him down, turns around, and then just like kind of pushes him with his chest and dunks on him. And Lively contests it. He stays there. He stood strong and contested it. And man, that is a thing that he's going to struggle with, is stuff in the post. But how many players are as big as Gobert? They're going to be able to move him around. Like we talked about his playing weight last episode. He's at 240 right now, or at least that's what he said. And the listed playing weight of 240, like Clint Capella, Jarrett Allen, Giannis, like there's a bunch of guys that are 240 in the NBA, and there are not many people as big as Gobert that can push Dereck Lively like that. So it was a good test, and it only happened once in over 2 games, right? So, I thought Lively held up pretty well rebounding wise, which is the one thing that the Mavs really, really need. Like I don't care about him getting beat on one post up in a game. I'd rather him win 3 or 4 rebounding battles in a game that are going to matter to end defensive possession. And so I think physically wise, that play is going to stand out. I tweeted it out, a bunch of people did, and said this is where he's going to struggle. But I'd much rather him like have that struggle, but win rebounding battles and still be able to do that.
Yeah, and we saw a couple lobs too. These first 2 games with Luka and him. If there's one guy in the league that is the hardest to throw those lobs against, it's Rudy Gobert. So
yeah.
As exciting as those couple plays and couple lobs that we've seen, we're like, man, we want more of that. We're going to get more of that. And they're going to be matchups to where imagine all the stuff. Now he's already a good roller, but he's obviously, he can get better at that. That's what you look at how much times Dwight, was was catching those lobs from Luka all these years, ever since, we were like 12 years old. And that's just imagine that, but Dereck Lively against some of these other opponents.
I go back to when was I 12?
Well, I think Dwight took over for James Donaldson as
Roy Tarpley went out with that injury, and then Dwight was the one that came in and oh my gosh. Yeah. So I thought Dereck Lively played well again in this game, and just showing he can do the things the Mavs are going to ask him to do. And seeing him run, like get out and run. I think there was a play in the first quarter where he got out and ran in transition. Josh Green got a rebound and they ran, and Josh totally missed him. Just didn't even expect Lively, I guess, to be that far out, like that close to the rim, and passed it to him like 2 steps too late on it. But like Lively getting in transition and running out, like, you could just see his athleticism on the lobs, on running in transition, and that kind of stuff. And it makes you excited because we've said this all summer, and I'm going to keep saying he's the perfect center for what they want to do.
And he should start. I mean, we've been on this
he is
for
starting.
a long time. And we've been on this for a while, and that in this center rotation right now, he should be the starting center, point blank. And I think these first 2 games have only proven that even more.
I'm curious how he's going to look, and I don't know when's the first time we'll be able to see this. How does he look against a smaller team, like a team that plays small at times? Well, the Pistons with Duren, Duren and Isaiah Stewart, I don't think that really counts. That's the next like NBA team they're going to play. In the regular season, San Antonio, Brooklyn, Memphis, Chicago, Denver, Charlotte. It's like, I don't know when we'll see that. All these teams.
I mean, some of it will just be matchup dependent. I mean,
all these other teams have centers, but yeah, how will he play against a switch, like a smaller switching team like the Warriors, or something like that? And I'm curious how he looks against that, especially how he guards against space, because we didn't have to see that very often in these 2 games because Timberwolves play big. They play 2-7, basically 2 centers with Cat and Gobert. And so we didn't really see a ton of that. So I'm curious how he's going to look at like that. But these 2 games were a great test for him. He played some good minutes. He showed us some good stuff. And yeah, I agree with you. He should be starting from just his from all the tools that he has, and then now from what we've seen over 2 games, he should continue to be the starter. And I'm going to stick with that.
Yeah.
Coming up, let's talk about whoever else stood out. I think OMax, there's a couple of moments that stood out that were much better from game 1. He improved, but where else did he struggle? We'll talk about him. We'll talk about the rest of the rotation and what we saw from everybody else coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel has you covered with all kinds of odds and lines inside and outside of sports. You can go check out and see what's available on FanDuel right now. Go check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. If you're subscribing to our subtext line, you will get the FanDuel line sent to you for every game before the game. So you can get that. They did have preseason game odds. The Mavs, I think, were a 2.5 point underdog in this game when they were a 1.5 point favorite when Kyrie was playing the game before. All kinds of different stuff you can check out on FanDuel. They have the WNBA right now. Game 1 of the finals is going to be Sunday. So tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Saturday, the Aces open as a 4.5 point favorite in this one. So go check out that. See what you have available at FanDuel. Again, if you put down $5, you can get $200 back in bonus bets. If you're making your first bet there, go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started today.
My first shot, my first make.
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us on Mavs rumors and more. If you want to watch film with me, I'm going to do a film breakdown of probably the two first quarters from the last 2 games. I'll send that out tonight, Saturday, probably. My wife went on a trip, so I'm home alone. What else am I going to do besides do a watchback for the subtexters? So subscribe to our subtext, click the link in the description to get that. All right, we talked about Dereck Lively. Love what we saw from him the last couple of games. We didn't like what we saw from OMax in the first game. Felt like he was really rushed. Felt like he really didn't get into the game. We didn't really see a ton from him because there was just a lot of mistakes and him flying around in the wrong kind of way. In this game, though, I thought we saw a little bit more, and at least we saw flashes of him doing some stuff that we know he can do on the next level. He scored 5 points. He had 6 rebounds, 3 of them on the offensive end. He had an assist in transition that was good, and but he missed all 5 of his threes. Didn't have any fouls, didn't have any turnovers. But what did you think about OMax in this game?
Yeah, I mean, he looked a little bit more calm. I mean, I had the same mindset after the first game. I'm not worried at all. He had that. The cool thing about OMax that I really like is he can put the ball on the floor already.
Yeah.
And you look at, when like Dorian first came in, I mean, he wouldn't even like dribble. So, and if he did, it's like, no, please don't dribble.
He would rarely pass like on the move.
Yeah.
It would have to be hit. He gets the ball, he stops, and then he passes, right? It wouldn't be like a take 2 steps and pass, or even like you said, dribble and pass. Like he was very limited early on, which is why Rick Carlisle liked him, because he wouldn't make any mistakes. And remember, we used to have that whole conversation between him and Justin Anderson, who is Rick Carlisle going to play more? He ended up playing Dorian because he made less mistakes and he was like a little bit more defensively sound.
Yeah, so with OMax, he had that play. He hit the Dirk fade a little bit and went in. That was funny. But even that's not really what he's going to be asked to do. Like, what, I think, not to switch it to Grant Williams for a second, but I don't know what Grant has more of so far in the preseason, dribbles or shots, because I'm like, we should have a game or a challenge of Grant Williams dribble. Because, I mean, he is like defining the 3-and-D type of guy. Now, I get it. He only hit 2 threes. He shot 7 again in the first half.
Yeah.
So that, once again, on yesterday's pod, we were talking about how, I mean, the dude's going to jack up threes this year. He's going to get a ton. And I think the percentages, I mean, he's a good 3-point shooter. But like what you're asking of OMax is what you're like, is this basically the same thing like what you're going to be asking of Grant Williams is take the threes, don't be shy. He hasn't been shy. So yeah, he missed all 5 of his threes, but I'm like, take them. Like now's the time.
Especially now, yeah.
It's the preseason. Launch them. Get it, get in the groove. And so I mean, I'm probably in the minority. Obviously, I have a lot of stock in OMax Island, but I'm just not. Yeah, it's gonna take weeks into the regular season before I'm like, oh, I'm really worried about OMax here.
Yeah, if I'm gonna take anything away from these 2 games with OMax, it's okay. Let's maybe slow down. If you were of the mindset, all right, he should start right away. That they should he should play 25 minutes, or he should be in closing lineups and things like that. Like let's pull him back a little bit. Whereas Lively, I'm push him forward a little bit more. I think that he should keep starting. You've been saying that forever, but I'm totally on board after seeing a couple of games with him. But with OMax though, let's maybe pull back a little bit if you were of the mindset of him. All right, he's got to start. He's got to do this. Josh Green is more ready than OMax is right now, for sure, and should be at this point.
Yeah, that opinion for me, I have the same opinion, but it's more of, it's not an indictment on OMax. It's more of the roster around him. Like, I think, like, kind of, listen to the Hoop Collective podcast the other day. They're talking about Josh Green. They're like, all right, if you're not gonna pay him and like start him, or like what are we doing if you're not going to start him right now? And I'm like, and that's why we've been in the camp. That's why, when Grant Williams like, hey, what's your ideal starting five? Josh Green has to be in that starting five, because it's like, what else are we like? That's the natural progression of where you're at right now. And he has to, like, to me, it's just, he has to be in there. If not, I don't know what we're really doing with Josh Green right now.
Yeah, and that's what Tim McMahon said. If you're not going to extend him or start him, like, go ahead and trade him at this point. So, yeah, I think because you have somebody that's ready to go. With Lively, you don't have somebody that's ready to go. Dwight and Rashawn Holmes, they haven't shown enough in this preseason, and we know what we're going to get from Dwight, so I'm not changing any of my mind on that. But
Rashawn got in. That's another thing with like preseason, especially with what, kids doing, that, we can look at the wins, losses, and, all this different stuff, but kids trying out so much crap right now in the preseason that it's, I mean, Rashawn Holmes, came in today over Dwight Powell. We didn't see Dwight for a long time. There were lineups that it was in the first half that he had the young guys out there. It was like OMax, Lively, Hardy. So, and it was like a fun lineup, but it's like, dude, I mean, they're going to struggle. So it's more of like, just, hey, let's throw some stuff at the wall, see what sticks, see what looks good. Let's see what some combos look like. We saw a combo in the second half that I was like really intrigued by. They had Maxey and Grant Williams out at the 4 and the 5.
Yeah, the one that started the second half was Maxey, Grant Williams, Josh Green, Dante Exum, and Jaden Hardy.
Yeah, and that was just, I mean, imagine that lineup, but with Kyrie instead of Hardy. And then because what they were doing with Hardy was like, dude, now we got everybody on the floor could shoot. It's a small ball ish, Max is 6'10", but it's like everybody can shoot 5 out, let Hardy cook. And it's like, if he gets into the lane, then but imagine Kyrie in that spot, 5 out, let Kyrie cook. And then, Kyrie's a better passer and all that. So I was intrigued by that line.
In that moment, though, when they said let Hardy cook, it was like in Zelda Breath of the Wild, where you make dubious food, where you like put ingredients together that didn't work, and then it comes out and it's like, hey, you can eat this, but it's just not going to be very good.
Hey, Hardy had some moments in this game.
Yeah, but not in that stretch. When they were just like, all right, everybody fan out and 5 out for Jaden Hardy. He struggled in that. Let's talk about Hardy now. He had some good moments in this game. Led the game in scoring with 22 points. He had 8 boards. He had a couple of assists. He had 2 assists, 6 turnovers. Not great there. He fell down when he was dribbling one time, and that was a turnover. He struggled there. He hit 4 of his 10 threes, which is good. Took a ton, but if you make 4, that's 40%. That's a really good percentage. 9 of 21 from the field. Had some times where he struggled, but yeah, he got hot a little bit there. In the fourth quarter, he had 2 really good takes to the basket in a row. He had a 3 right after that. That was 3 possessions in a row. Just really good takes, and that's what you put Hardy out there to do. Go cook, figure out how to get your offense, and you want him to figure that out in preseason, especially.
Yeah, I mean, he has the turnovers there once he gets into the paint. He's trying to do the Luka pass where he throws it across court to the corner, and he's at least seeing where it should go. I think that will just come with time. But they're trying him out at different spots. Like that stretch right there is like, hey, run the offense type of thing. He started, today's game in the Kyrie spot, playing off Luka some. So, they're testing it out. Something I thought was really intriguing on the broadcast, Mark and Bobby were talking, and they were talking about Coop and how Coop had told them how he had talked to Jason Kidd about Dante Exum, and how Kidd had told Coop, hey, Dante's right now currently constructed, like Dante's in our 10-man rotation. And it's like, all right, do your math, which I'm a big fan of Dante Exum. I think Dante Exum should be playing. Yeah. I love the energy. I love how he pushes the pace, which, when anybody pushes pace for the Mavericks, it stands out. But so like, you just do your like math at that point. It's like, all right, well, if he's in the 10-man rotation, well, who's out, So I'm intrigued.
I was gonna say, can we do some math on that one? It's like you get.
Well, let's just put Josh in there. Josh, Grant, Dereck Lively, Luka. Who am I forgetting? Kyrie.
Luka, Kyrie.
All right. So who's the next 5 players? OMax, Tim Hardaway, Maxey, Hardy.
Did you put Dwight yet?
Dwight.
How many is that?
That's 10 right there. Exum is 11.
Yeah, who would you take out of that top 10 we just mentioned? That's hard. It's hard because
Seth Curry's 12.
Well, so David Locke does this thing that maybe we should do as a pod sometime between the preseason games, where he has some kind of algorithm or stat where he figures out how many rotation minutes each team has, and usually that's a good indicator of how good a team is going to be. And so everybody gets 240 minutes in a game. Like every team gets 240 player minutes in a game, right? 48 minutes times 5, that's 240. And he had the Mavs at like 230, which is a really good level. He thought the Mavs had a lot, had just about enough rotation minutes from these guys. And so to figure out who gets what is really hard, especially if everyone's healthy, which they are right now, which we should mention. Kyrie missed this game with, what do they call it? It was I think it was groin. Left groin. Left groin soreness, but it's not considered serious. Jason Kidd said that before the game. Seth Curry missed the game with illness, so that's not serious either. And so everybody is healthy. Jason Kidd said that after the game, that everybody's healthy, and that's what we're happy to come out of this game with, is just health for everybody. So as long as everybody's healthy, which it seems like they are, it's hard to come up with who's the 10-man rotation, because Jason Kidd's not going to play a 12, 13-man rotation. That's one of the things I was trying to figure out over the summer, going through the Mavs minutes. Like, all right, well, how do OMax and Lively get minutes? Who gets bumped out? And now it looks like Lively really is going to get some minutes. Now who does get bumped out? So,
because that's when you get into that second unit. It's like, OMax has to play. Maxey's got to play. So
does OMax have to play?
Yeah, he does. Who else is guarding people? It's just Josh and Grant.
Well, the thing that would be weird is if OMax and Dereck Jones don't play, because then those are your two wing, like bigger wings that you added outside of.
Yeah, see, I don't expect Dereck Jones to play, but
I'm saying if both of them don't play, then it's a lot of Tim, Curry, Exum,
Hardy,
I guess, yeah.
So that's where it's going to get really interesting, especially after these first few preseason games here, where Hardy's looked, he's looked like he belongs out there at times and stuff. So it's like, all right, Hardy, Seth, Tim, Dante Exum. Is it matchup dependent?
You've got these two guys though in Hardaway and Hardy, who like on any given night can look really awesome and look like your third best player, and can also look like your worst player on the court. Like, can we figure out a way? Can we hire a medium or like some kind of fortune teller to tell us, all right, today is a Hardy game, today is a Hardaway game, and like just decide which one? Because
Tim's dad.
Yeah,
I mean, Tim's dad was there today, and Tim hit like 3 threes. So
yeah, he was 2 of 6, and then hit another jumper. He hit a long 2 that looked like a 3, but they called it a 2.
I also want to talk about Grant, because I just, it's 2 games. It's not like Grant's putting up 30 points. Grant Williams.
I was gonna say Grant asked some good questions after the game there. Our friend Grant Angstadt was over there. Took the big trip, man. That's a long way, man.
Heck yeah, it is. But with Grant Williams, I thought his defense on Towns, like it's just another thing of seeing the difference of having a guy like him that can guard some of the bigger guys at the 4 spot, even though he's when we first signed him, I talked a ton about they just haven't had a physical defender like that in a long time. Like he's just a thicker body, even though he's shorter. He's 6'6", 6'7".
He's a middle linebacker, man.
Yeah, he can hold his own against a Towns. Like he can't get pushed around the post, and so I don't know. There were just different small things where he was making an impact that once again doesn't show up on the box sheet. That it just that I was impressed with, and once again he got 7 threes in the first half. Like I said earlier,
he had 7.
Yeah, he took 7 threes in the first half in the first game. And it's like, dude, I mean, he's going to get 1 million threes this year. So, and if he hits them at, our friend, ex-Mavs assistant coach Mike Shedd responded on Twitter, and he's like, man, if, he's just got to hit him at that 40% clip. And I think he will. He's going to get a ton of open threes.
I also don't like the threes that the Mavericks have been taking in these games. I don't feel like they've been the wide open Mavs threes that we're used to them creating. It still doesn't feel like the offense is in rhythm, right? They finished the game 14 of 46. A lot of those are bench threes and like late rotation guy threes, but still, I think that the Mavs will create much better threes than the ones they have these first 2 games, and they have to hit them to win. Because I mean, you've seen these last 2 games; it's still the same offense. It's still the same run pick and roll, run double drags, run like maybe 1 or 2 pin downs for like a Tim or a Seth or somebody that can run off ball stuff so that they can get a wide open shot. There's just not much, at least that I've seen, to the offense. You've got that, which means you've got to hit those threes and the threes that Luka creates.
Well, especially when Kyrie's not playing, that's why it felt like in that second half. I mean, it felt like Jaden Hardy. It was just like every possession was him just like ISO.
Not only did Kyrie not play, he also got outshot by Michael B. Jordan. Not even Michael Jordan. Michael B. Jordan beating him in a shootout. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it's all over I think it was the NBA social or maybe even the Mavs one. But yeah, they did a shootout where Michael B. Jordan was taking like an 18-foot jumper and Kyrie was taking a 3.
That's funny. But no, with the threes, I think I was adding them up because once again, it was like the first halves of both of the games. Both the games. That's when all the main people played. They were 13 of 48 from 3.
Yeah.
Of the first two halves of these 2 games.
I texted that to all the subtexters today.
Did you really?
Yeah.
13
of 48.
Yeah. So, and I think a part of it though is when you don't have a Kyrie out there, besides Luka that can generate offense, then you kind of are just asking your guys to just jack up a 3 whenever you got just a small glimpse to get a 3 off. Because to your point, it felt like a lot of the threes they were taking were contested. But outside of that, it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to have OMax try to drive and then get swatted out of bounds by Rudy Gobert. Like,
that was a tough take. He had Lively on the lob on that play too, which he could have thrown it up to. A lot of their threes are also late in the shot clock where they're having to just chuck something up because they haven't created enough or moved around enough. And this Minnesota team was good defensively. They had Anthony Edwards back in this game. They didn't have Jaden McDaniels. That would have been even more tough. But they were a good defensive team last year. They've got Anthony Edwards. They've got Gobert. They've got Towns, who's just big and now doesn't have to like guard anybody specific, and that's fine with him. So, yeah.
Sorry.
And now the Daily Double.
This week on Socials with Kai.
Is that your sounder? That's the sounder going into the segment. Who else stood out to you?
I don't have a ton else from this game. I mean, if we really want to dissect the end of the game, I mean, that was fun. Dexter Dennis versus, Mike Miles, not Mike Miles versus Jelly for the third 2-way spot.
Dexter Dennis is the second coming of Taze Moore, right? It feels like he's the next like real bouncy guy that can come in, and Mavs fans are getting excited about him. He had a couple of plays. He's had a couple of threes too. He hit 1 today. He hit 2 in the game before. Had a huge dunk. He could just throw down, man.
The attempt that he missed brought me up like, whoa, all right.
Murderous. We haven't seen Mike Miles, by the way. He was questionable to come into this game. I think it was either an illness.
He had illness, yeah.
Yeah, he was questionable, but we haven't seen him in 2 games. I'm interested to see what he looks like. What do you think? Rashawn Holmes got in before Dwight Powell today. Another one of those things where Jason Kidd's just trying stuff out. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he had moments. I mean, there wasn't anything that I was like, all right. I thought he forced it a little bit. He's trying to get his jump hook off in the paint there. He tried to force it kind of on the right block one time. Cat, swatted out of bounds. But I don't really blame him because it's like, dude, you're getting your moment. Like, let's try to make the most of it. So
he's been sitting on the bench for a whole year for Sacramento, and he's ready to go. Like, we talked to him at media day, and he's like, he's ready to go.
He's so excited to be here.
He was very excited. We talked to him, and I asked him the question like, why Dallas, but like, he wasn't a free agent. Like, he got traded here, but it seemed like he decided to come. You know what I mean? Like, it came off as that sort of vibe where like he decided to come back because he was excited about the prospect of being with the Mavericks.
Yeah. The third 2-way spot, I will always lean towards wings. So, if you're asking me, Jelly or Dexter Dennis, I'm going to pick Dexter Dennis as much fun as Jelly Walker is. I thought he had some fun moments, a lot of bounce. Greg Brown, dude, I want to see him in like a dunk contest thing. There was one
of the Mavs could do a dunk contest between him, Derrick Jones Jr., Dexter Dennis. Like, that would be fun.
Yeah, they Mavs Socials posted a clip of when they were riding camels and they were asking all the players there in the desert of, hey, who has the most hops? Like, who could jump over the camel? And almost everybody, it was a lot of people said Greg Brown. Some people said Derrick Jones Jr., but it was like one of those two.
Oh,
but it was a reminder of just how much hops Greg Brown has.
I bet Lively would be a good dunk contest guy too.
Yeah.
There you go. Let us know what you thought about this game. Give us your overreactions to preseason game 2. And we'll be back tomorrow talking more Mavs. We'll talk about probably what the rotation's going to look like. We'll talk about what we saw from these 2 games. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.